Welcome to Figs Talks Fights. This is the UFC 259 preview show. I'm your host, Brian Figueredo. We got 3 title fights happening tomorrow night in Las Vegas. Everybody's on weight. So, let's get into these 3 title fights, all right? Starting off first, we have your light heavyweight champion, Jon Blachowicz, taking on your middleweight champion, Israel Adesanya, with Israel Adesanya coming up a weight division to try to be the 5th man in history, or the 5th person, I should say, no respect, or disrespect to Amanda Nunes, to be a 2 title holder simultaneously in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So, let's start off with Jan Blachowicz, or Blachowicz. I'm not sure how to pronounce it yet, so I might say it both ways today. Moving forward, okay? This guy has been your absolute unexpected champion, okay? Jan was used back in the day as a tune-up fight, if you will, for Alexander Gustafsson. And this was the time that you saw Alexander Gustafsson pulling off his wrestling just to get the W, because there was something to be said, even for the unknown Jan back then, for that Polish power that he seems to possess. So, on this recent streak, I mean, his last loss was actually only 4 fights ago to Thiago Santos. It was a pretty competitive fight, but in the 3rd round, these guys started exchanging blows. Both of them are heavy-handed. Could it have gone the other way for Jan in that fight? Possibly, but I mean, like I said, you stand in the pocket, these big guys trading shots on each other's chin. Thiago Santos was the ultimate winner in that fight, and then went to actually go fight Jon Jones for the title. Since then, Jan Blachowicz, okay, was used as a stepping stone for Luke Rockhold to enter the 205-pound division. Damn, that didn't work out well for Rockhold, did it? So, I mean, Luke looked like a big guy at 205, coming up from 185, put on some muscle, tried to bully Jan Blachowicz against the fence, wasn't having any of it. And then about 3 minutes into that, into the 1st round, these guys break off the clinch. As soon as they broke off, boom, Jan Blachowicz creates some distance and throws that looping left hook just right over the top, catches Rockhold right on the jaw. As actually, as they were breaking, Jan was actually leaning back and throwing that left hook, okay? Finishes him off with a couple of just shots on the ground. Referee pulls it off. His next fight goes in there against Jacare Souza in Brazil when they had crowds, okay? The Brazilian fans, Jacare in the main event. Look, it wasn't the most exciting fight out there, okay? But, I mean, Jacare kept just trying to bully Jan up against the fence, same way where Luke Rockhold did. And just the same way Jan had none of it, he wasn't, okay? Jacare got 0 takedowns on Jan in that fight. Jan was more or less allowing Jacare to come forward and just content to counter him and throw some of the heavier shots. If you recall in that foot, it even looked like they suspected Jan broke his foot in between either the 3rd and the 4th, or the 4th and the 5th round. I'm just going off by memory here, but he still gutted out the split decision win. I believe it was a split decision, but anyhow, comes in against a main event in New Mexico of February of 2020 against Diego Sanchez was the co-main event, pardon me, against Corey Anderson. And Corey Anderson was hot coming into that fight. Okay, he was the first one to defeat Johnny Walker previously, or in his previous bout before facing Jan, and it pretty much looked like this was all said and done. Okay, having none of it. If you want to see, I believe I did a video on this a bit over a year ago. This is the fight where Corey Anderson went to go for end his combination with a right leg kick, but as soon as he went to go swivel through the kick, he stayed right on the center line, dropped his hands, poof, that Polish power knocked Corey Anderson into a 4th dimension, okay? Bam! Jan had arrived at that point. Now, Jon Jones relinquished his title last year, I believe in August of 2020, and they needed to crown a new champion at light heavyweight. So Dominic Reyes was coming off a loss against Jon Jones in a fight that myself and most other people thought he was going to win. Jan Blachowicz was just the next guy. Look, rewatch this fight with Dominic Reyes, because going into it, I thought Dominic Reyes, for sure, he's going to be the champion. He's a new generation of fighters coming up now. Young guy, especially at getting the confidence. He may have lost on the scorecards to Jones, but he now knew he could beat somebody like Jon Jones. Look, eventually, Dominic Reyes gets caught with a left hook. Jan was setting that up all night. Okay, go back and watch that fight. He kept throwing that left kick right to the body, just in between the liver and the kidney on Dominic Reyes. Man, his ribs were all red coming in between the first and the second round. All of a sudden, he started to notice Dom Reyes was getting a little bit lazy and making sure that that elbow was covering those floating ribs. As soon as he started to land or load his hand down, Jan Blachowicz kept loading up on that left, eventually catching him, and bam! An unlikely guy. I believe he started his UFC career out like 2-5, something like that, maybe 2-6 or 2-6. I forget what the hell it was. He literally was at about 33% of wins versus losses. Okay, to turn around, come back, and become the champion of the light heavyweight division. Now he's 38 years old. Slow clap for Jan, but pull the brakes here for a second. Israel Adesanya, there's a reason why they're giving this man a title shot to become a division weight champion in 3 years of fighting in the UFC. It was impressive when Jon Jones at 23 years old, in less than 3 years, became a light heavyweight champion. Israel Adesanya is going for 2 now. Look, this fight may have the potential to be a little bit of a snoozer. Now, let me explain, okay? Israel Adesanya, yes, an exciting fighter, but he's a very patient and he's a cerebral and smart fighter. He's not going to get in there and start exchanging blows as soon as, it's not a crowd-pleasing moment, okay? Both these guys seem to be very patient, okay? If you look back just at 2 fights ago with Israel Adesanya when he fought Yoel Romero, okay? If you even want to call it a fight, Yoel Romero just kind of stood and just exploded, I think, 2 or 3 times in that entire bout. Israel Adesanya stayed on the outside, chopped at the legs, only was throwing out jabs, just enough to touch him, wouldn't commit to 2 or 3 shots as he knew the power that Yoel Romero was sandbagging there to just throw on top of him was going to be a threat, okay? And I actually think big props to Israel Adesanya for not falling into it. Now, that was with a crowd, and a whole crowd was brewing in that fight, and it didn't help that the Wiley Zhang Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight of the year happened or right before this bout took place. So, with this being said, there's no crowd here tomorrow. If there's any kind of complacencies on either ends or either man's end, I mean, we just may look at a staring competition for 25 minutes. I personally don't think that's going to happen. I think for sure your first round is going to be a bit of a feeling out process. Like I said, Jan is also a patient guy. Like as I was talking about the Jacare fight that took place in November 2019, he was letting Jacare come forward, throwing punches, and then countering off of Jacare from there, okay? But I mean, Israel Adesanya, you can't stand in front of him either, okay? Paulo Costa, either hung over from a bottle of wine or not, just really had his ass handed to him in September, I believe September 27th of 2020. Okay, so we're only going back 6 months here where Israel Adesanya literally put a clinic on an undefeated, forward, heavy-handed fighter in Paulo Costa and put his lights out, okay? I do favor Israel Adesanya to win this fight. I think he is going to stay patient. I think he's going to pick his shots. I think they're going to have some tendencies that they've picked up on Jan. I think he's going to be more than aware of that sneaky left hook that he likes to set up. He's probably aware of all his setups. Look, Israel Adesanya's feints are out of this world. This guy is always twitching his hips, showing you his hands, giving you different looks, okay? And every shot comes behind something else, except for with him just pumping a jab out there. Even when he's doing that, might show you the hips, pumps the jab. The jab is coming up behind a right hand that the right hand isn't actually going to throw. He's throwing the right roundhouse kick behind it, a la how he did against Paulo Costa, okay? He's a brilliant striker, but I would not be shocked at all if you're going to see Jan wait to be patient And as soon as some sort of an exchange happens, boom, shoot for the double, okay? Something like this, Israel Adesanya's corner probably already knows this, to not commit to more than a 2 or 3 strike combo at a time. As soon as you're in that fourth shot, especially with the hands or lifting his legs, you may be gifting Jan Blachowicz a takedown. So we're going to see what the hell happens tomorrow night. Like I said, I do favor Israel Adesanya, but I mean, it's MMA. It's MMA in 2021. If I didn't learn my lessons many years ago, I think 2000 year was the year of the upset, okay? Go back and look at all their Randy Couture beating Tim Sylvia, and then George St. Pierre losing to Matt Serra. Shit happens all the time in this sport. So can't wait for it. It's what makes it exciting. Now, your co-main event is your women's featherweight champion, also women's bantamweight champion, the double champ. Amanda the Lioness Nunes is set to defend her featherweight title for the second time now, okay, against Megan Anderson. Look, this is a great fight, but it has all the potentials to be either a mauling or an upset, okay? You want to look at the strengths of Megan Anderson. I think she has like a 3 or a 4-inch reach advantage on top of Amanda Nunes. She stands at 6 feet tall. Amanda Nunes is only 5'7". She is strong as hell. She hits hard. She's got long shots. She fights like a long fighter as well. She throws her kicks just outside of range. If you want to see her fight with Kat Zingano, boom, I think they look like there were at least 4 people apart. Okay, and Megan Anderson just found that roundhouse kick that just actually cut open the eye of Kat Zingano. A little scary. She's recouped from then. Thank freaking God. But anyhow, look, Megan Anderson, I mean, what does she have to lose in this fight? Absolutely nothing. She's supposed to lose to Amanda Nunes tomorrow. Okay, she can't get a little overzealous with her combos as well. As I was just saying about the Adesanya and Blachowicz fight, okay, excuse me, that Israel can't commit to more than 2 or 3, 4 punches at a time. Otherwise, it's going to be an opportunity for Jan to change levels. Don't kid yourself. Amanda Nunes is going to be looking for the same thing. I personally think that Megan Anderson needs to stay really long, throw those kicks, okay, advisedly setting them up behind the punches, all right, and just keep the distance. Some of those teeps, throw them behind the jab so that Amanda's hands are ready. But I mean, Amanda can make reads like this. And what I think is going to happen with this fight tomorrow is pretty much the GDR, Jermaine Durandamy fight that took place, I think, at UFC 245, December 2019, okay? I think it's going to be a do-over of that, where you're going to see Megan Anderson have a couple of moments. If she ends up on her back, you're going to see her try to throw some up kicks. She has James Krause in her corner. That guy is a freaking brilliant mind for putting together game planning. He's turned out to be a tremendous coach. He's a great fighter himself, all right? Ballsy, gutsy guy. These guys are seeing things that my amateur ass couldn't even freaking, comprehend, even if I'm 10 years studying in the gym every single day in and out, okay? But Amanda Nunes, I expect to see her, okay, keep the distance, throw those leg kicks, chop at the kicks. As soon as Megan comes in, try to counter, change levels, shoot a double, and she's either going to ground and pound Megan Anderson out, or Megan's going to survive, or she's going to get submitted, okay? Megan Anderson did fight Holly Holm 2 years ago, and Holly Holm, the world champion kickboxer and boxer, okay, taking Megan Anderson down to the ground and just holding her down and putting a beating on her and controlling her. It's a little weary. I mean, 2 years is, if you're a sponge, it is a significant amount of time in MMA. But I mean, Amanda Nunes, 2 years ago, she was already, I believe, the double champ. So it's a tough night out for Megan Anderson. But as I said in the fight before, upsets happen in this sport all the time. Amanda Nunes, she's been, a 2-weight champion for years? She's already she'll have been the bantamweight champion if she still has the title past July, which she's more than likely to, okay, unless she loses tomorrow night and then loses her championship in the next 4 months in a different weight class. She'll have been the bantamweight champion for over 5 years at that point. She's now a brand new first-time parent, okay? It does change your life. Remember hearing people before my son was born, you'll see. Get the hell out of here. Let me figure it out for my own. Damn, did I figure it out on my own? I haven't slept since my son was born, okay? And let me tell you, it does really change your life. So is she going to be a little bit more complacent? Is she still going to have that killer instinct inside of her? I mean, it can go either way. At least for me, maybe in life. I'm not trying to say I'm Amanda Nunes or compare, but like with my own experience, I thought in life I was a hell of a lot more calm. But when it came to anything aggressive and you have that kid in your mind, oh boy, it's a whole new level of beast. All right, we're going to see how Amanda Nunes reacts to it. So I expect Amanda Nunes to win. This isn't some prediction that's groundbreaking or anything like that. She's obviously the favorite, but like I said, nothing shocks me in this sport. Now, your Coco main event, your third title fight in one card tomorrow night. Damn. You got to give the UFC props when they deserve it. I know they're the big bad UFC, the billion-dollar organization, and the bald lobster-looking Uncle Fester, Dana White, big bad boss look. They put together a hell of a card. And we got your bantamweight champion, Petr Yan, making his first title defense against Aljamain Sterling. Okay? I know Petr Yan's a favorite in this fight, but let's talk about this for a sec, okay? I'm going to favor Aljamain Sterling to win. And I'll tell you why exactly, okay? This bantamweight championship right now is all over the place. You had Henry Cejudo pick up a vacant title after TJ Dillashaw pissed hot for EPO just a little over 2 years ago now. Took the title in a vacant bout against Marlon Moraes. Waits a whole year to defend the title against Dominic Cruz, who came off a three-year layoff, or a 3.5-year layoff, I should say. And Cejudo retires immediately. They were scrambling, didn't know what the hell to do. At this point, I thought the two best contenders for Henry Cejudo, didn't matter whether he was going to retire that night or not, was going to be between Aljamain Sterling and Corey Sandhagen. Now, there was only, I believe, 3 weeks in between UFC 249 and UFC 250. That wasn't enough time for them to decide what the hell they were going to do with the bantamweight title. So I personally thought Corey Sandhagen and Aljamain Sterling should have fought for this title in the first place last year. Okay? And with Aljamain Sterling just absolutely buzzsawing through Corey Sandhagen, and have you seen what Corey Sandhagen has done since? Taking out Marlon Moraes with a spinning heel kick, knocking out Frankie Edgar in 28 to 32 seconds with a flying knee. Corey Sandhagen is a bad motherfucker. And Aljamain Sterling had none of it. Just buzzsaw through him. Okay, his last 2 wins were Corey Sandhagen, before that Pedro Munoz. Okay, now Petr Yan, he did fight for the vacant bantamweight title in July of 2020. Okay, UFC 251, the first time they went to Fight Island. But he did it against Jose Aldo. Okay, and Jose Aldo is no slouch. Okay, he's a legend and a hero in Brazil. Okay, still to me one of the greatest featherweights, if not the greatest featherweight of all time. This is not taking anything away from Petr Yan. Okay, the fight was competitive though, and Petr Yan's fight before that was against an aging Uriah Faber, and I love Uriah Faber, or Faber I should say, but like, look, Aldo and Faber, I mean, these guys were at the top of the world in 2010. Hold on, see if I got that here. Bam, there you go. First pay-per-view and only pay-per-view of the WEC was Aldo and Faber. These are the last 2 guys Petr Yan fought. And when the hell did this take place? I don't know if you can see it. Saturday, April 24th, 2010. Okay? That's the last time these two were like, oh, these are the 2 best guys in this division. Okay? I'm not taking anything away from Petr Yan. Way he looked against Uriah Faber, and Uriah Faber did look good. Excuse me. Coming into that fight, I think he knocked out Ricky Simone prior to coming into the Petr Yan fight. All right, Petr Yan had none of his takedown attempts. And actually knocked him out with a head kick. He dropped, and then just a couple of punches to follow up. It's going to be tough. It's a pretty simple one to call. If the fight absolutely stays standing and Aljo can't get it to the ground, you're going to have to favor Petr Yan to win this fight. Okay. He's got the faster hands. I think he's got better movement. But on the ground, I mean, Petr Yan, he's very explosive. He's strong. I think Aljamain Sterling's a bigger guy out of the two of them too. And I think Aljamain Sterling just freaking wants it more, okay? This is nothing that there's no expertise happening here. I'm just telling you how the hell I feel about it and how the hell I see this fight playing out. But I mean, let's not just pretend that Petr Yan has been this dominant guy at 135 pounds in the last few years. Some of these two guys have one common opponent in their last 3 fights against Jimmy Rivera, and I personally thought Aljamain Sterling looked more dominant against Jimmy Rivera than Petr Yan did, okay? But, I mean, it's hard to look good against a guy like Jimmy Rivera, but I mean, all around, what a great card we got tomorrow night. This card's so goddamn stacked. The Dominic Cruz is fighting Casey Kenny on the prelims portion of this fight. And doesn't have to worry about Keith Peterson stopping the fight a little too early, smelling like booze and cigarettes. So, you know, can we blame Keith Peterson? I mean, we're in a pandemic. He was allowed to go out and party in Florida. That's even assuming any of this is even true, but just trying to have a laugh with you. Anyhow, look, if you enjoyed the content today, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, all that good shit. Enjoy the fights tomorrow night. Man, it's a stacked card. 15 fights. Everybody makes weight. Woo! We got the recipe for a good one. So until next time,